Okay. So what do you think? I was thinking this is going to be called the Paranormal Party PodCrash.
I like the PodCrash.
PodCrash, yeah? Paranormal Party PodCrash.
I do like the PodCrash.
Instead of podcast, PodCrash.
Yeah. Everyone's doing podcasts. No one's doing podcrashes.
It's new and improved. It's brought to you by place sponsor here. All right. So yeah, we're this is our first time doing this. We're just getting together.
You never tell her that.
No, you don't.
You always pretend that you've been here before.
Well, of course, you gotta act like you know what you're doing.
That's my brother, Dan.
That's my brother, Dale. And we're with the Paranormal Party Crashers. And we're coming here just to hang out, talk about ghostly stuff. And since it's March Madness, and there's a lot of college being spread around the TV waves here, we're going to talk about college hauntings. Specifically, some of them related to the teams you're seeing play basketball.
Yes. And I hate to break it to you, but one of these teams already lost. Spoiler alert.
Round 1 is over.
Partially over.
Almost over.
All right, so what do you got for me, Dale? Any fun college basketball stories?
Yeah. The Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas. You know, it's revered and feared for its deafening crowd and tradition. The banner in the rafters that warns visiting teams, beware of the fog. The saying is a tribute to legendary coach Forrest Fogg. The saying lives in infamy. I'm just kidding. It doesn't say that part.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Oh, so you're making,
I just made
making
that
it up. Ah.
But it probably lives in infamy because there's ghosts. But some insist it's more than just metaphorical. Many Kansas faithful like to believe that the spirits of Fogg Allen and even basketball inventor James Naismith.
He invented basketball?
Yeah, he used a peach basket.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that.
With no hole. So you just throw it in, and if it sat there, you got 2 points. They didn't even have a three-pointer when it first started. But the creator of basketball is still roaming the field house, stirring up the Jayhawks' home court advantage.
Oh.
Which didn't work today.
Which clearly did not work today. You know, I know a thing about Kansas.
Yeah?
That's where Dorothy is from.
That is where Dorothy is
There's
from.
no place like home. For her, Kansas isn't my home.
That's right. And it turns out Glinda was the mean witch the whole time.
I didn't watch Wicked, so I didn't know that.
Well,
I'm assuming it's from Wicked, because she's not the mean witch in The Wizard of Oz.
unless you look at it as she's eliminating all her adversaries, the 4 other people that run Oz, the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch from the West, and the, I guess she was Wicked Witch from the East, or just the Witch from the East. Dorothy dropped a house on the one from the East. And then Glinda used her, Dorothy, to get rid of the Wicked Witch of the West by melting her with water. Very rude.
It is rude. Women don't like being sprayed with water.
And
in general.
And she revealed the Wizard of Oz to the point where he escaped in a hot air balloon, and there was no one else left except Glinda to run all of Oz.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, so it was in the original one. We just don't look at it that way. Because guess what she says at the end? She's like, Dorothy, you could have gone home this whole time. All you had to do was click your shoes.
That's true.
And she just
could have
dragged
said
her
that
along.
from the very beginning.
She just dragged her along, removing all of her adversaries in power.
So moral of the story, bonus clip for you guys.
Bonus.
Wizard of Oz is a spooky story if you really dive into it.
It is a spooky story.
But this is about
But this is about the Jayhawks' home court advantage, which failed today. The ghosts were not with us. The arena's atmosphere already borders a mystical, and at full roar, it is described as if the ghosts of Naismith and Allen just come back to watch. I don't know how they make that much noise with just two people.
Yeah.
But
Well,
legend has it that when the Playhawks play, the Jayhawks play, not the Playhawks. You understand, it rhymes.
it does rhyme.
But the staff has whispered about late at night occurrences like toilets flushing. It's probably got one of the automatic flushers.
Probably.
That, you know.
But to be fair, those are motion sensors. A
That
lot
is-
of ghost hunting equipment
is motion, yeah.
sensors. So
That-
how to
that's
go
true.
off? There's no motion.
That's true.
Ghosts.
Ghosts. That's how. Paranormal. See, their own or their unseen hands closing doors. Doors just closing. They probably have automatic closing doors.
But you never know.
But, you know, they attribute it to Fong's playful presence because he was a mischievous guy. And while these anecdotes are harder to verify, there's no doubt that Allen Field's house has an intangible aura that
It's intangible. How do you?
it's intangible. It's rattled away so many opponents except today.
That's true.
For decades. Just not to decades.
Well, I got to give it to you. You tried.
Yeah. Even empty. In 1955, the arena exudes an eerie energy.
I feel like any arena, if you're by yourself in there in the dark, is kind of scary.
That's true. They're very big.
But especially if you know there's ghosts.
Just haunting you.
And even more pressure that it's the ghost of the person who created basketball.
Yeah. One of the players even would say that when they were in the arena, they could hear the whistle blow with no one around.
Mm-hmm. That's creepy.
That sounds like it might just be PTSD from basketball
It could be.
coaches
Never-
over the years.
I never played college basketball, so I don't know about the PTSD part.
Reminders of Fong's ghost. I don't even know if he's Asian.
Fong.
It sounds like he should be Asian.
Where do you get the peach baskets from?
That was Naismith.
I'm
That
thinking
was,
of a different guy.
James and the giant peach basket.
Ah.
James Naismith and the giant peach basket.
Mm-hmm.
But whether or not anyone believes in actual ghosts, the lore adds up to the charm of the place that is often called St. Andrews of college basketball. Kansas fans certainly embrace it. After all, if any gym is worthy of a friendly haunt, it's the one built on the very birthplace of basketball rules.
It's a good story.
Well, that doesn't matter because they lost.
That's true. Next. They don't matter anymore.
They gone.
Cool story nonetheless.
Cool story, bro. Literally, he's my brother.
Yeah, I think we established that at the beginning.
Well, you never know. If they tune in later, they won't know.
Yes, that's what I do. Is I click on the video and go to minute 10.
let me
Let me
skip
just
through
skip
this
to
really
minute
quick.
10.
Do you want me to talk about Oregon?
You know, let's stick with the college basketball thing. So yeah, let's go with Oregon. What do you got?
I was gonna say I'm not talking about Oregon Trail.
Yeah, that probably has a bunch of hauntings in itself.
Definitely a lot of dysentery.
That's another PodCrash.
The Oregon Trail.
Yeah,
Ooh,
maybe.
They'd probably.
Haunting
We should
of the
walk
Oregon
that.
Trail. No, we shouldn't. Do you know how long that is?
That's a lot of content.
Have you ever played the game?
Yeah.
I died a lot, so I don't want to walk it. I'll drive it.
Were you the banker?
I don't even remember.
The banker always had the most money, but he was very useless when people got sick.
It's like, you want some money for your flu?
I was loaded up on ammunition so I could hunt.
Oh, you got bit by a rattlesnake? Here's a quarter.
Are we going to try to barge this river? Or you want to just cross it? No, I'll barge it. I'll pay the extra $6. Oh.
That's where it's useful.
Oh, you flipped over.
Yeah. Dang it, I thought I was doing a good thing.
Turns out you could have just walked across this whole time.
Mm.
So apparently there's been some grunts and gusts at the Oregon's MacArthur Court.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where they come from?
I
I imagine if they're playing basketball in the court, there's a lot of grunts going on.
Yeah, well, one of the women basketball players.
Family friendly, though.
I'm just saying, take it with a grain of salt. She was saying that weird grunting sounds, which were followed up by what seemed to be about 40-mile-an-hour gust of wind, would be whipping around her, yet no air was moving, and she felt no breeze. Which seems like a typical woman response to an event such as this. No, I swear, it was gusting all around me, and yet there was nothing moving. But it startled, and the player and her companions quickly finished their task and fled. I don't know what their task was. I don't know what their task was. I think their task was shooting hoops and trying to make it in. And my guess, they weren't making many, so they ran away. They're like, ooh, this is good. Let's blame it on the ghost.
Yeah. We got bad practicing because ghosts were blowing wind at us.
I heard grunting, and then there was wind out of nowhere, but nothing was moving. And we just had to go. We had to get out of there. No more practicing. But they were convinced that something unexplainable was present. Matt Court's proximity to gravestones certainly amplifies its spookiness. As folklore Professor Martha Bayliss put it, any old arena that's now silent and deserted, especially one next to a cemetery, can play tricks on the imagination. Over the years, students have reported that other odd sounds late at night, and some swear you can feel a presence in the rafters. During those quiet moments when the once rocking arena falls still, MacArthur Court closed in 2011, which was the year of the cat. And
why is that significant?
well, cats tend to change things.
Oh.
So it's just interesting. And cats are interdimensional beings. So if you want to bridge the gap between the physical realm and the spooky realm, cats are very good because they're the eyes of the ethereal realm, which is why they'll like pick up on weird things that no one else is picking up on.
Is that why black cats are kind of one of those?
That's why witches use black cats
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Interesting.
They're like magic and interdimensional. And then when you bring it together, that's why it's called a catalyst.
Oh, yeah?
Because they induce change. Without the cats, you don't have a catalyst.
Wow. We learn something new every day.
There's a lot that we're going to learn over these next...
Yeah, go on.
I don't know how long. But it was replaced by the new arena, so the ghosts probably aren't in there. The ghosts...
Was it knocked down?
I don't know.
Oh, well.
But Probably. But if it's not, we're going to investigate it.
We'll try to investigate it.
I think we could do that. It's only in Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just walk the trail to
You know-
the university.
I know we're in a state that starts with the letter O and we're really close with the alphabet. Not so much in geography.
It was never my best subject.
Would they get knocked out too?
No, Oregon plays tomorrow. We don't know yet.
Ah,
To TBD. But if I had to guess, I picked them to win. So they should not be knocked out tomorrow.
no. So you picked them.
Yeah. I have a 93.8% winning record so far, which should be 100.
Should be.
I didn't stick to my gut.
All right. So let's stay on the topic of colleges. Not so much significant in the March Madness area, but I want to talk about Fordham University. And if I'm mispronouncing it and it's not Fordham and it's Fordham, I apologize.
More like Boredom University, because you're not in the final.
You say that now. Wait until you hear what's going on there, Dale.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because I don't know. It's not so boring. Or Borham.
Boredom.
So Fordham University, it is in Bronx, New York.
Good pizza.
Just a quick history here. The university's roots trace back to 1841. But at that time, it was founded as St. John's College by Bishop John Hughes.
Did he also make the color spectrum?
I have no idea.
He's not
Hughes?
the-
No. I'm going to guess no. He did not make the color spectrum. I don't think that's where the term hue comes from. It's one of the oldest Catholic and Jesuit universities in the northeastern United States. The Rose Hill campus, where Keating Hall is located, has a very rich history that's tied to the Jesuit order. And this is where it's happening. It's referred to as the haunting of Keating Hall.
Michael Keaton Hall.
Not Michael Keaton. This is before his time, from my understanding. So,
1841 would have been before him.
yes, very much so. So Keating Hall, it's a Gothic structure. And it's rumored to be haunted by the ghosts of former Jesuit priests. That's pretty spooky. If you're scared of priests, think about ghost priests. That's even scarier. Now, students that go there, they have a lot of interesting experiences. They have students and the staff. They report hearing disembodied voices, footsteps, whispers, and things moving on their own.
What does a disembodied voice sound like?
It could, I've heard them sound like a lot of different things. They could just be a whisper. I don't think you heard whisper.
Is that a disembodied voice? I feel like that's just a whisper.
No, that's like if you're hearing a voice that's not anyone else's. Like, it's not you, it's not me, and then somebody's talking and you could hear it. Right?
Disembodied.
And this is where it gets creepy. In the old buildings in Keating Hall, they see apparitions of these priests walking around.
The original apps of the universe.
Apps of the universe. Oh, apparitions. No one said this was a good PodCrash.
Oh. It is a PodCrash. That?
It is a PodCrash. Now, question is, I don't know because I've never been there. It's like there's two different types of hauntings, right? They're residual and intelligent hauntings. I would think these are more residual hauntings.
That
If they're-
sounds like residual, yes.
If it's apparitions just walking around, and you just happen to catch them at the right time.
Yeah. They're just chilling.
Just chilling.
They're like, I've been here my whole life. I didn't know I died. I'm just going to keep hanging out. But I can't go anywhere else.
They're just stuck in the Keating Hall. And that's why it's haunted. And a lot of students and even ghost investigators, paranormal investigators, they catch visual and auditory evidence. English isn't my strong suit.
It's only your first language.
It's only my first language. Bobby, you're failing English. You speak English. Who's that in reference to?
King of the Hill.
Yeah, you got it.
Damn it, Dale.
Damn it, Bobby. But yes, there's a lot of audio and visual phenomenons going on at that place.
I don't know how you have any other type of phenomenon.
What about smelling?
Ooh, smells do bring you
Smells.
back. They bring you back.
Hey, all I'm saying is smells is another thing that could be considered paranormal.
That's
Apparently, they don't smell things here because it's not on my paper. But do you know what sulfur means?
Eggs.
If you smell sulfur,
Demons.
generally it means demons are present. But that's what they say.
Who says? Random people on the internet or the Bible?
It's just what they say, Dale.
They, the they. Hoi story, hoi noi. The they.
Mm-hmm.
It's a philosophy term. I don't expect you to understand. I'm
I-
a professional. I'm a modern day Socrates.
Yes, I do not understand. So,
That's why we're investigating the paranormal.
that is true. We'll have to do another PodCrash about our experience and our thoughts on this. But not today.
With sulfur?
No, not with sulfur. With in general.
Yeah.
Why we're interested, why we're doing the channel, why we're doing this stuff. Yeah? To make money if we can.
And to hang out with my brother.
To make money if we can. I've got another one that's pretty interesting because I have personal experience at this place. And when I say personal experience at this place, I mean I've been there, but I haven't investigated it. But just being around it, I
You can
hear
feel
about it. Well, it's always talked about. And what I'm talking about is Ohio University in Athens, Ohio.
Not the Ohio
Not-
University.
Well, that's the Ohio State University.
Yeah.
This is Ohio University.
OU.
Less letters, less important. Less words, less important. But just to kind of give you a brief history here of Ohio University, it was built, and I don't think it wasn't built. It was established
Big difference.
because there's a lot of buildings there
Yeah.
that are built at different times. Established in 1804, and you know what that makes it?
I almost derailed the whole conversation
Why?
about buildings that have been around since the mud floods and that we just discovered them and now we're utilizing them. So, to
Yeah.
your point, yes, building is a lot different than established. It's like, you know what? We found this dope ass building over here. We're just going to call it.
Yeah. That's why I clarified.
Yeah.
Established, not built. So in 1804, it was established, and that makes it one of the oldest universities in the U.S. That's pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever been to Athens.
I have. For Halloween mostly.
They have good Halloween parties there. But Athens is in the middle of nowhere, essentially, in just the foothills of the Appalachia, essentially. And it's pretty interesting because of the isolation and everything else around it, they say that it is placed on the convergence of ley lines. Do you know what ley lines are, Dale?
I think you get those when you go to Hawaii.
Those are lays, not ley lines. And
Oh, same thing, except you get Coke with it.
no, not the same thing.
Coca-Cola.
Ley lines are basically if you have two kind of symbolic or historical or sacred monuments or places, a ley line is what is a straight line that's drawn between those two monuments, right? So you have one here, and then you just draw an imaginary line.
You just lay a line.
You just lay an imaginary line.
In between 2 points.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this place is said to be right in the path of a ley line. Now,
Who laid the line?
I don't know.
Question.
But the question also is, what are the significant structures that the line is connecting? I don't know. But I'll have to figure that out. But Ohio University, it's been around since before,
1804.
since before the Civil War.
Oh yeah, that's before. that.
And it's opened a lot of mental institutions there. Or it's opened a mental asylum in the area. And that place,
That's what happens when you go to college, kids.
yeah, essentially, you go to a mental institution. But that place is called, if I remember correctly, that building was called, like, the Ledges, is what they called it. But it's really called Wilson's Hall. I remember walking around this place, because you could walk around it, but they had the building closed off and locked up. Nobody could get in it. You weren't allowed in it, because it was abandoned. It was the old asylum, the mental asylum. And it was always creepy, because it sat there abandoned for a long time. I think they're renovating it now.
Ooh, that's gonna stir up some trouble.
So that would be interesting. But talk about some of the stuff that's going on there. Specifically,
Yeah, what is some of the stuff that's going on there?
well, let me tell you, Dale. Specifically in room 428 in Wilson's Hall has a pretty dark history.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the students that were there way back in the day would perform a bunch of like satanic.
Sexual acts.
They probably did that too, but that I don't know contributes to the haunting.
Well, I tell you this, Dan. 428. It equals 5 energy. And for those of you who don't know, 5 energy is the conduit between realms in a way. It's constantly in flux. If you have 5 energy, then you're going to be indecisive. You're going to want to travel a lot. You will be more entertaining, more sexual, things of that nature. So I find it interesting
That it's room 428.
that it's 428 and that provides that energy. Because the whole reason that even ghosts exist is we're just all little energy things floating around.
Energy balls.
Energy balls, you know?
And we leave our mark.
Yeah, and if energy can neither be destroyed nor created, then it has to transfer somewhere, which is why paranormal activity, that's probably a real thing. But we're going to investigate that more and figure it out. And worst case, if you don't find anything, we're just going to have fun doing it.
Yeah, that's the point.
And it's an excuse to spend all night with your homies in weird buildings.
It's not a cheap hobby. But
Someone's gotta do it.
let me tell you what was happening.
Yeah,
in
what
room
was
428,
happening in room 428?
Since you wanted to talk about the dark energy.
Sorry.
So, one of the students there apparently practiced occult rituals, and during one of these rituals, he was found dead in that room.
Do we know if the ritual was successful?
I don't know.
Or
It doesn't
if
say.
he unsuccessful?
I don't know. But it was a ritual, and he was found dead. And apparently that's one of the most haunted buildings in Ohio.
Energy.
Room 428.
Energy.
Dark energy. But other than this student performing these occult rituals. Let me tell you about some of the activity that has happened here.
For those of you who don't know, occult just means unknown or uncommon knowledge. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be. That is
I
all.
feel like occult in general is framed always in a bad way, though.
Correct. But that's because people don't, it's uncommon knowledge. So people are afraid of what they don't know. So when you start getting into things that people don't know, the occult, the uncommon knowledge, then it's like, is that real? No, I'm scared of it. So now it's a bad thing automatically.
Yeah.
Which some of it is. But when you hear the occult, it's not necessarily an evil thing. It's just uncommon knowledge. It's teachings that have been lost over times.
Well, let me tell you about some of the stuff that's happened here. Since we're talking about the occult and unknown things, there's a lot of reports apparently of things and objects just literally being thrown at them, flying across the room, hitting them. You mentioned earlier, unseen hands opening and shutting doors. Same thing here. It's a pretty common thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Opening, closing doors. Paranormal, maybe. Wind, maybe. Unlevel buildings, maybe. We don't know. Ooh. I feel like every haunted place isn't complete unless there's reports of shadow figures and shadow men.
Yeah.
I have an interesting theory about shadow figures. The reason I think you see shadow figures in every...
Oh, I'm sorry. What is your interesting theory?
Well, I feel like the reason you see shadow figures in all of these haunted places, and here's a theory, I don't know if it's true, I can't prove it, but I feel like a lot of people experience this, is because there's always a figure or a hierarchy to things of people or an energy that doesn't want certain energy to leave or to talk or give people information. So my theory is shadow figures, every place has one because there's an overseer of the other spirits and they want to control the other spirits, which is why sometimes you get a lot of activity and then all of a sudden it's done, right?
The shadow figure
The
came
shadow figure is patrolling and keeping these other spirits
in check.
Mm-hmm. That's my thought.
I mean, I can see that. It's like the workplace. It's like the corporate America.
Mm.
It's like you're walking around, you're doing, we're just talking and having a good time and doing our work. And then the boss comes by and everyone stops. Like, oh no, we weren't doing our work. We were just kidding.
Along with the shadow figures, there are also extreme temperature fluctuations.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced extreme temperature fluctuations?
Yes.
I don't mean going from your heated house to the negative degrees outside. That doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking if you're standing in the same spot and the temperature just gets really cold and then comes back up.
Like not when the sun is shaded and then it comes back out.
No.
I've experienced that.
We've all experienced extreme temperature fluctuations, but not when we're standing still in a room. Unless you're a paranormal investigator, then you've probably experienced some temperature fluctuation at some point.
Mm-hmm. Does it happen a lot there?
It happens enough to be down on my paper to talk about.
It happens enough to be documented.
So apparently, yes, there's a lot of temperature fluctuation there. And that's something we haven't used, the term poltergeist activity.
Ooh.
We haven't talked about that. But apparently that is...
What that is?
Well, poltergeist activity is essentially more the physical being manipulated.
Mm.
So objects being moved, doors being opened.
TV channels going blurry.
Maybe, yeah. Like
well, that's just from the movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's what poltergeist is. It's physical, like the manipulation of the physical realm.
objects.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, and that's
We want more poltergeists.
well, they're it's definitely more scary. Poltergeist activity.
Is it poltergeist?
Poltergeist.
Is that singular, or does that account for multiple poltergeists?
Unfortunately, I don't think that's a term.
Can we make it one?
Maybe if there's haunted geese, we can call them poltergeist.
Poltergeist. Poltergeist.
Poltergoose. But just to kind of wrap it up with Ohio University, overall, in Wilson's Hall, the feeling is pretty generally negative.
Mutual. Oh.
That would have been cool if we said the same word, but we did not.
We did not.
Negative
Negative.
is the word.
Which is not mutual.
Nope. Nope. What else do we got, Dale?
Well, we have the super haunting of Randolph College.
Now,
In
what makes
Lynchburg, Virginia.
what makes it a super haunting? Are you just saying it's super haunted
Yeah.
just for dramatic effect?
Yeah. It was just it was just the last
Okay.
one.
Forget I said anything.
It was just,
Continue.
I didn't actually read any of it, so I don't know what this haunting is gonna be. But it was founded in 1891, which is old enough to have ghosts. You have to meet a certain threshold.
What is the threshold for how old a place has to be to have ghosts?
I feel like 1986 and beyond. It was probably, ever since the Challenger exploded in midair.
One of these days, this is going to be transcribed. Transcribed. And somebody's going to use that as a source on one of their papers.
Thank you, Wiki.
Yeah. Wikipedia. Well, according to this, the building has to be at least older than 1986.
And when you have multiple ghosts manipulating physical objects, it's known as poltergeist.
Multiple ghosts. Okay. You know what? I could get on board with that. The question is, how do you know if it's multiple ghosts to consider it a poltergeist?
Well, that's why we gotta investigate them.
Okay.
We gotta catch them. Well, let me tell you about the brief history that was founded in 1891 as Randolph Macon Women's College.
Oh,
There's a lot of emotional energy still lingering.
that's what I was going to say.
It has a long history of being a prestigious women's institution. It has a very rich history of strong-willed women who had very strong emotions.
Is that what that says?
Yes.
Oh, wow. See, we're not even making this up. That's what Google says.
Nailed it. It became co-educational in 2007 and has changed its name to Randolph College.
Why did they change it to a guy's name?
I don't know. Randolph Macon. I don't even feel like Macon is a woman's name.
It's probably a last name.
It is hyphenated. Maybe
It's
they
probably
got
two last
maybe they got divorced. They're like, nah, we're done with this side. But let me tell you about the ghosts of the main hall.
That's why they're here.
The main hall, the college's central building, is said to be haunted by several former students and faculty members. Reports include the apparition of a young woman in a white dress, believed to be a student who died tragically.
Wouldn't it be nice if we knew how she died tragically?
Yeah, it
That
would.
would be nice. Damn it, Google.
Maybe you should just ask follow-up questions.
Yes. Be like, hey, give me more.
Can you tell me how this was tragic? But my guess, by the sound of the piano playing in the empty rooms, is that a piano fell on her.
So far we've had a house fall on a witch in this PodCrash,
Yeah,
and then a piano fall on a girl.
it makes sense.
Okay, well,
It would be, I would haunt, because I wouldn't know.
well, it's a good guess, but I don't know. I don't know if I trust that guess.
Well, I don't think it was the books moving on their own in the library that was tragic and killed her.
Well, I feel like the books moving on their own in the library probably happened after the kids died.
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't the feeling of being watched.
Does that happen there too?
Yeah, I don't think that killed anybody.
I'm always skeptical about the feeling of being watched because I feel like you always kind of feel like you're being watched when you're in the darkness.
Maybe you're watching yourself.
Could be.
I don't know.
Or there's just really high EMF readings there.
It's true.
Because that will also make you feel uneasy.
Well, because you don't have any perspective, because your light's gone, and then it's just a whole different feeling that no one's ever used to.
Right? That's true. It's a very
It's like-
uncommon feeling.
Yes.
Normally, that's fair. It's a fair point. Normally, when the lights are gone in your life, it's when you're laying down in bed and you're comfortable and you're going to sleep. Not when you're in a creepy building with no flashlights.
And with pianos falling on people tragically.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, tragically. But the discussion points from this, Dan, is the role of emotional energies in hauntings, which is true.
That is very true.
I do believe that. The more energy you have surrounding a place beforehand, as we said before, it can't be created nor destroyed, so it has to go somewhere. If it stays put, because there was so much there to begin with, I think you'll have paranormal activity going on.
Not the movie.
And if we know one thing about women, they can't move on.
Dun-dun-tsh.
So they're going to be lingering around until they get their say off, not their seance.
Well, I think that brings us back to,
The prevalence of lady ghosts in women colleges.
well, I would assume there's lady
That was-
ghosts if it's women colleges. No,
Or the idea of tragic love stories creating lasting hauntings. Brought to you by Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
that's a love story I'd like to see end.
Truly, Dan, the haunting detail is the primary ghost is a young woman who died tragically, unknown. I think it was a piano falling on her. And the haunting has a very sorrowful feeling.
Sorrowful feeling. I think that the whole emotional energy being at that place, it brings us back to what I mentioned before about the types of hauntings. Residual and intelligent. And we know it's not intelligent.
It's a woman's college.
You didn't have to say that, Dale.
Oh, we know it's not intelligent.
No, but generally I feel
Edit.
if there's a lot of emotions and a lot of trauma,
Emotional damage.
there's a lot of emotions at a place. I feel like that's a very heavy imprint at that location, right?
Especially if it was that time of the month.
Not that type of imprint. But it goes back to, residual versus intelligent, and when you have that much energy being imprinted, I feel like those places are probably just packed with residual energy.
I would agree with that.
And I feel like that's probably where it's most active, is just residual stuff that keeps happening because of the energy and the emotional.
That might be the definition of residual.
Could be.
Keep happening.
Yeah.
Lingering, staying put.
Well, speaking of
Thanks, Gemini.
high emotions and trauma, I've got another interesting one for you.
I'm ready, I think. What is that?
Well, have you ever heard of Gettysburg?
The address?
That's where he gave the address. Well, Gettysburg College. Do you know where that is, Dale?
It is in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Wrong. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. You were close with the Bergs and the Juniors. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Nailed it.
Gettysburg College.
Fredericksburg, Virginia, by the way, is a historic site for the Civil War. So there are a lot of. He should have given a Fredericksburg address also.
Well, that he may have, but that's not where his famous one
Which,
was.
by the way, he's never actually given us the address.
I don't think you understand
What
you
is
mean.
it, 40 score? I don't think that's a real address.
I think it's addressing you, addressing the crowd, not a physical address, Dale.
So he wasn't postal.
Gettysburg College. Gettysburg College, Dale, was founded, not built,
Founded.
in 1832.
Yeah, so they found it. It was already there.
No, that's not
And
what
then
that
they
means,
found
Dale. That's not what it means.
It might be what it means.
It might be. Who knows? We weren't there.
Now we might have to do conspiracy theories.
They didn't have video cameras, so you could be right. The Egyptian pyramids were founded, right? Those were founded by people.
Yeah, probably.
We don't know who built them, but it was founded in 1832.
You notice no one ever questions the Aztecs pyramids. They're like, oh, they were just a bunch of Mexicans.
Hard-working people.
Yeah.
Of course they put
Oh,
that.
yeah, they put that up probably in like 4 days.
Gettysburg College, Dale, was founded in 1832 and is located in the heart of one of the most significant battles in American history during the Civil War.
Battle of Tuscany.
Battle of Gettysburg.
That's the one.
During the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863, which is 30 years after it was founded, the college was founded, many of its buildings were used as field hospitals by the United States. By the Union and the Confederate soldiers.
They shared?
They shared.
I see why it's haunted. There's a conflict of interest.
And this college's history, I mean, it's in Gettysburg. It's linked directly to the Civil War history and the trauma of that event. But I want to talk about specifically the battles that took place there and the echoes of the battle in Pennsylvania Hall.
Battle of the Bulge.
If you didn't know, Dale, at Gettysburg College, Pennsylvania Hall is the oldest building and is a hot spot for paranormal activity.
Are we going to visit it?
I'd like to. You can. It's open for paranormal investigations.
We're going to visit it.
And there's a whole bunch of places there that, like, that whole area is crazy.
So we need to go to Athens, Ohio, and then we need to go to Gettysburg address.
You know we're going to be 30 minutes from Athens when we're at Fairfield County. But we can't go
Are we
there.
double doing it?
No. No. That's too much. But in Pennsylvania Hall, some of the hauntings that they report having there, can you guess what they are, if it's related to the Civil War?
Closing and opening of doors. Pianos falling on people.
Well,
Gunshots.
no.
Damn.
Actually, well, gunshots is one. The closing and opening of doors. It's not on my paper, so I'm saying no.
Oh.
The sounds of injured soldiers.
Ooh.
Moaning, crying. Apparitions. Seeing apparitions in Civil War outfits. And of course, there's always cold spots and the feeling of unease whenever you're at one of these places. But what I find really interesting is a lot of investigators report the smell of medicinal herbs and blood. Not sulfur. Iron is blood. So, that brings us back to I'm gonna have a random cut. It's gonna go. Did you see that?
Paranormal.
That brings us back to that discussion point. How does trauma and emotional energy play a role in the hauntings of these places?
A lot.
You heard it here first, folks.
It only makes sense that it would be a lot.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is because you're the professional psychologist, philosopher. Sorry, not psychologist.
Both. I'm both.
You're not that good.
First of all, I think philosophy is better than psychology. Because psychology is just the science of how the brain works and the hormones and the transmitters go off in the brain. And then philosophy is more of the art of understanding the human psyche and like getting into the foundational aspects of why are we here? Why do we do what we do? Whereas psychology will be like, well, we do what we do because of these neurons firing here and there and there and there. So it's more of a scientific approach, which is, they leave a lot out. So when you blend the two together, you have a good idea of, you know.
Psyphilology. I thought about that way too long, and it came out really poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Philology would be better.
philology would, yeah, okay, you know,
I thought about that less.
a lot less. Well,
The point being, the more energy that you have stored up in a location, especially if it was something tragic where they lost their life quickly, they didn't know necessarily that they are dead now.
mm-hmm.
So now their energy is still stuck, the residual one that you're talking about. It's stuck there because they don't even know that they're not there. And now they're just doing the last things that they were doing before.
And that's interesting because that whole thing about them being stuck there, they don't know it, but they're not in this realm anymore, right? So it's like, do they even know that we're there when are we just in different dimensions at the same time, and we have certain devices that can kind of pick up that energy imprint, you know?
I'm going to say that the residual ones don't know we're there. And it's just we're coexisting in different timelines and waves where that happened, that energy's still there, it hasn't moved on because it's unaware, which is why it's not an intelligent haunting. It's unaware of itself and of us, but it's still going on, it's still there. Because it didn't know it was supposed to move on.
So does that bring up the point that places that experience great suffering retain the suffering?
Yeah, I would say. Especially when it's an unexpected end. Because you can have an argument. You could be yelling at somebody and, you know, fighting with somebody, and then all of a sudden, you know, they shoot you and then you're gone. But you weren't expecting that. But that's a lot of energy, and that's why I think these residual hauntings, you get so many screaming, the weird sounds, the moanings, the eerie feeling, because there's a lot of energy there that hasn't moved on in those types of situations when it's a quick ending.
I think you should stop there.
I did.
I know what you're thinking. You're like, what else can I say?
I was just gonna say.
I think it makes sense.
I was just gonna say philology.
I think it makes sense. I think your explanation of it makes sense.
Yay,
Does it make sense to you?
philology. Let us know in the comments below. Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to Mr. Ballin, who does a great job He often tells spooky stories.
He talks a lot better than you.
He practices.
Hey, I see all those jump cuts in your videos too, okay? Or the other technique, if you don't want to see the jump cuts, you just put an image
Blur,
real
yeah.
quick. Put an image
Switch.
and then switch. Next frame.
Smart.
Smart move.
Not an actual image of what we're talking about. But yeah, he does a great job, and he tells a lot of spooky stories, and it's a good channel. Mr. Valentine's Day, 2023, special edition. You are the part of the inspiration of us investigating
Sure.
spooky things, so that we can tell stories just like you.
One day, I hope to have 10 million subscribers on YouTube just like him.
Yeah,
I think he's at 10 million.
he should be.
It's pretty close.
He deserves it. He works really hard.
I gotta clean all that up later. I say all that, it's 4 pieces of paper crumpled on the ground. I think that wraps up our college tour for today and the spooky haunted stories that happen at these places.
Yeah.
I think it's relevant because of March Madness.
I also am surprised that none of these hauntings had heard the sound of a basketball in the distance just dribbling in the court.
If you've ever experienced any of these hauntings at any of these colleges, leave a comment in below, tell us your experience. If you've had spooky experiences at any other colleges, let us know. We'd like to hear about them.
If you have any experiences you'd like us to explore, let us know.
Hey, we're always looking for places to go investigate.
That's true.
Unfortunately, time and money are a big role in that. Speaking of money, if you feel like donating,
Do you have a donate button
I do. Well, I have a PayPal link
on the thing?
on my YouTube stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not desperate at all.
Hey, I look and almost everyone has it. Okay, what's the difference between saying, hey, if you just, here's a PayPal link, and hey, here's a Patreon, except they get some of my money.
Oh no, I agree with that.
If you like the paranormal and you want to continue seeing more paranormal content, whether it's investigations, whether it's pod crashes like this, whether it's just stories and reaction videos, like the video and subscribe to the channel below. Your support helps. We want to keep growing so we can keep making this content. And if you feel like donating, I have a little link below where you can do that. That's not desperate.
And one of the best ways you can make us grow is by touching our buttons. Just do it. Thank you.
Like and subscribe.